The board previously met in closed session under exception C9, C10, C1, C11, and C21, and we'll be going back into closed session after this meeting. But with that, I'd like to recall to order the April 8th, 2025 Board of Education meeting. If I can have a roll call.
Mr. McBride, Ms. Fabian,
Present.
Ms. Gonzalez,
Here.
Mr. Riddle,
Present.
Ms. Hannah,
Yes.
Ms. Lansing,
Present.
President Ewing.
Here, so we do have a quorum. Ms. McBride is here, but he'll be joining us any moment. So with that, I'd like a motion to resume open session.
So moved.
Motion by Ms. Hannah,
Second.
seconded by Ms. Lansing. All in favor signify with aye.
Aye.
Any opposed, nay. All right, we are now in open session. Dr. Brown, if you'd be so kind as to lead us in the Pledge of Allegiance. Awesome. So next item is the president's report. March and April tend to be very, very busy here in the district. So we've had a lot of different events, community organizations that we've been able to visit and attend. I myself was able to go to the Boys and Girls Club celebration that they had over the weekend. I know that the Howells had the event in recognition of justice, which was over on Friday. We've had different types of athletic events, and so it's kind of been a whirlwind. Lots of positive things going up, and one of my goals as my time winds down is to make sure that I get out to every building. Again, one of the things that I've enjoyed the most when my time on the board is always anytime we get to connect with our students, and so looking for those opportunities to get to the schools and just say thank you to the staff and students for the last 8 years. In addition, I want to say congratulations to Miss Board Vice President, Miss Anita Hanna, on her re-election. Congratulations to Board Member McBride on his re-election. Thank you, or congratulations to Angela Ramirez, who is a newly elected board member. And board member, or previous board member, Mike Rodriguez, who will be returning to serve 4 years. So congratulations to those winners. And then I want to say thank you to the individuals who threw their hats in the ring to serve our community. It's never easy to put your name and yourself out there and say, I want to represent Waukegan Public Schools. And so I love public service and anybody who's willing to serve their community. So I say thank you to Nick Shepard, Randy Sabecki, and Tanya Curry, who all also ran for the school board this round. Yeah, I'll go. Well, I said hello and congratulations. So, again, I won't belabor the point. I know we have not a long agenda, but some things to get through this evening and then to go back into closed session. I have other thoughts, but I'll save those for another day. So with that, I'd like to turn it over to our student board member.
Okay, it's on. So I don't have a presentation, but I'm reading my calendar, some events for school coming up. So on the 15th of this month is PACT for the sophomores. On the 17th is the Gerald TC Annual Memorial Drill Down event at Washington campus.
What time?
It starts at 6. And then the 24th, 25th, and 26th, if I'm wrong, is the Addams Family Play at Brookside, and I think it starts like at 5:30, like 6. And then band concerts are the week of the 28th. And yeah, that's about it. Thank you.
All right. Well, thank you. And then also, I know that there was a post. It's been crazy to believe that the year's almost over, right? And that you've been in the position for a year, but we will be starting our process to select our newest student board members. So you got some more time, but we encourage all of those students who are interested in serving to apply. With that, we have our D60.
Sorry, Board
Go ahead.
President. She has one more.
I have one more. Marching band is coming up, and we encourage from the band program to any incoming freshmen through senior in high school to sign up for this coming season.
Thank you.
When is it? April 17th.
April 17th.
Thank you for that.
Thank you.
Next up is D60 and 60, if you turn your attention to the screens.
That's good.
All right.
So I say thank you to those who helped to organize it. Again, as they mentioned, during the pandemic, one of the things that I remember most is it was after we had extended spring break by a week and decided that we wanted to distribute food, and you had individuals lined up in front of Carmen Buckner around the corner during the pandemic, right? And so at that point, it wasn't safe to bring people together, but appreciate the creative minds of those in our food for service department for making sure that we are thinking about our students all year round for winter break, spring break, and even during the summer with our food program. So this is also why those programs are important. They are at jeopardy on the national level, and so I would encourage you to advocate as much as possible to keep these programs, is because they are needed. Next up is approval of our minutes from the open session of February 25th, 2025. You want to read the recommended action?
Yeah, Board President, can I recommend that we either go separately or keep C aside, since I wasn't here for C?
Yeah, we're just taking A right now.
Okay, perfect. I just want to make sure.
Recommended action is that the Board of Education approve the minutes for the open session meeting February 25th, 2025.
Motion to approve.
Motion by Mr. Riddle, seconded by Ms. Fabian. Any comments, questions, corrections to the minutes? All in favor signify by aye.
Aye.
Any opposed, nay. Minutes are approved. We have approval of the minutes of the open session meeting of March 11th, 2025.
Recommended action is that the Board of Education approve the minutes for the open session meeting on March 11th, 2025.
Motion to approve.
Motion by
Second.
Mr. Riddle, seconded by Ms. Hannah. Any comments, questions, corrections to the minutes? All in favor signify by aye.
Aye.
Any opposed, nay. Minutes are approved. Item 8C, approval of the minutes of the special open session meeting for March 18th, 2025.
The recommended action is that the Board of Education approve the minutes for the special open session meeting on March 18th, 2025.
Motion to approve.
Motion by
Second.
Mr. Riddle, seconded by Ms. Hannah. Any comments or questions, corrections to the minutes? Roll call.
Mr. McBride?
Yes.
Ms. Fabian?
Yes.
Ms. Gonzalez?
Yes.
Mr. Riddle?
Yes.
Ms. Hannah?
Yes.
Ms. Lansing?
Pass.
President Ewing.
Yes, items approved, minutes, motion carries. Now is an opportunity for public comment. This is an opportunity for those who are here from the public to address the board. So one-way dialogue for you all to speak about any issues, concerns, congratulations that you have. And I'm gonna call the names 3 at a time so that you can prepare yourselves. Each speaker gets 3 minutes. If you need translation services will be provided for you, and you will get 6 minutes to allow for the translation. We do ask that you refrain from mentioning student and staff member names in your remarks, and we do want to remind all speakers of civility. In order, we have Krista Sanchez, Renee Barnes, and Rayon Edwards in that order. And Ms. Sanchez, your time will start whenever you start speaking.
Good evening. My name is Krista Sanchez, and I am an active community member. I originally was a parent volunteer that was actively involved in the schools with my children at Cook Magnet, as well as Lion Magnet. As soon as Placencia became the president, or not the president, the superintendent, yes. Parents, me and myself, I was started to be pushed out of the district. When my son was in 5th grade, we were asked not to come into the schools, that we had to do additional background checks and such. From there, I continued to try to get in the schools to volunteer as a parent. When my son was at Jefferson, I was able to volunteer. Cook Magnet, the PTO was very active and allowed me to be involved. I was working for the College of Lake County, and I was actually doing tutoring, mentoring for North Chicago, Waukegan, Zion, and Round Lake, providing tutoring and mentoring services to our students. And it was a grant-funded program where we were able to take students on college tours. I got that phone call from my son that said he was within a block of a shooting. Walking home from school, 2 kids were shot in front of the Ann Kiley Center, and I decided to turn down my job. I was actually on my way to Washington campus. The child that shot the other 2 kids was a student at Washington campus. Continuously, I've came through the schools, started off as at Jefferson as a teacher in the ESL. I was teaching math and science, multiple curriculums. I had an excellent review. It was really good because I had no idea what I was doing, right? It was my first year teaching. But the fact that I asked for science materials and asked for additional training, I was let go. Look back at my observation. It was excellent. It was proficient. Up until my 3rd observation, then it was just like, oh, no, you don't need to come back as a district. Then I worked for the bilingual department. The bilingual department is not trying to have any success within our schools. And I've continuously said that no matter how much they set me up to fail, I continuously succeeded. I already knew the tactics that the head of the bilingual department, and I made everyone aware of the tactics that were being used and the violations that were taking place throughout the district. I was then asked to resign again because I was doing PBIS as well as doing my job as a family support manager, with Angela being actually my boss at the time, helping to address those issues. And then lastly, I'm being resigned again. I thank you though for putting I'm being terminated because of my evaluations, because I speak up, because I am addressing the issues that are happening and taking place in my schools. I'm also being threatened by the head of our HR department, as well as within our school. So if that's not enough for you guys to resign and help our students, that's it.
Thank you, Ms. Sanchez. Next thing is Renee Barnes.
Good evening. I'm here on a personal note.
I worked for the district for 18 years, and I left in November of last year. But anyway, I have a son that has mental illnesses, and I've always done FMLA. Up until this point, it's been almost a year. August of this year will be a year that my FMLA has been messed up. I haven't gotten any help from anybody. I've been to our union. I was even in touch with the head of Human Resources a month ago. I was assured that they were going to get back in touch with me that Friday. To no avail, that did not happen. So I waited until spring break. I thought everything would be calm. Kids were gone. And I called the head of Human Resources. The secretary answered and said that he was not available. And I called several times. And her being the secretary, I'm sure he got the messages, I would think. He's never called me back. And so I've been doing things on my own. I also thinking about going to the labor board because no one is addressing my issues. Somebody has to know what happens with FMLA. I only take off the time that I need, but it has been so messed up, I've lost a lot of pay. And I'm just looking for what's mine. I'm not trying to take anybody's nothing. But our dear old district, you will see that when staff has an issue, then we're reprimanded. But this is almost a year, and nobody's being accountable for nothing. So I did talk to somebody today, and they told me to give them until 12 o'clock noon tomorrow. I don't know what that meant, but we'll have a discussion. But I just need my money, just like everybody else. This is not a free service for me. I want my money.
Ms. Barnes, Mr. Moten is in the back. If he'll field your questions and make sure that we can get your information.
He was involved in it too, and I never heard anything from anybody.
Mr. Edwards.
Good evening, community, staff, and board. Let me begin by saying we pay the superintendent too much money for her not to be at these meetings. Yesterday in closed session, her evaluation was discussed. She was here. But every time it's time to face the people, she's missing. It's too often, and nothing is being or getting done. Sad case. I will be asking this community to get behind a petition because it's time for us to trash this attorney that this board has hired. She is not, nor has she been, a representation of this district, these stakeholders, or this community. 2 incidents, being and trying to maintain a respectful manner. 2 black men, one allegedly heard something, reported it to his lawyer, got to the district. Black man immediately placed on administrative leave. Caucasian woman talks with the lawyer, same lawyer, about a Latino administrator, nothing, no action would be done. Class textbook, Title 7 and 9, Kathy Wright, I'm sure you know all about it. Yet again, y'all, we got Kevin O'Connor. Young black boy was taken up out of the district by the Waukegan Police Department. District have policy in place that should not have occurred. This superintendent sent staff over there because she was aware that this was going to transpire, confirmed by the Waukegan Police Department. Sent staff over there. They went and took this young man from class to the police. He was taken. But his lawyer want to sue Anita Hannah. Board members don't do no day-to-day operations. We all know that. And being that it's 7 of y'all, how is she the only one named? That's puzzling to me. This lawyer should have been sent a letter. She should have been done something. She should have been said something and ain't done nothing. And then yet again, we got a sister up here who can't get what she worked for, what she showed up for every day. But we paying this woman almost $500,000 when you add benefits, insurance, and allowances, and all of them bonuses she getting, and she don't do nothing. We don't even know when she punch in. Major events happen in the district, and she's out of the state. LeBaron, please sit down. Don't talk to this woman tonight, because that's the typical response we always get. Y'all show out when we in these spaces, but don't do nothing else. And then y'all back here with this face like y'all surprised. For what? We griping every week and y'all ain't doing nothing.
Thank you, Mr. Edwards. Next three names in order: Randy Sabecki, Kashana Hanna, and Ray Vukovic.
Good evening, everyone. First and foremost, I'd like to take a moment of silence as we lost another great teacher in our community. She was actually my reading specialist when I was in first, second grade, Ms. Diane Olson. Thank you. And then let's get into it. Exactly the same thing. I understand, Christopher, right where you're coming from. That's why I stopped at Little Fort. We brought in things to the community. I brought the Harlem Wizards in. We brought kids from Zion, all three tri-states, we brought them in to do it. Then the district wanted to take that over. The third year I tried to do it, we were told the gym wasn't available, that they had another event planned. We went there that day, nothing planned. And Miss Carolina Fabian's the one that wanted to take it over, to be exact, because she had that conversation with me. And next I want to talk about, let's talk about Jack Benny. It's turmoil over there. We had a kid bring a fake gun to school, had it multiple days. And this is information that I know to be facts. And we try to downplay it. We don't tell. We sent the letter out 2 hours after school was out to the parents because parents found out and then started complaining. Then we sent the letter out. Today, we got another letter from a list the student had of names of teachers and staff or whatever, honestly. Then we called the police this time and got them involved to come and do an investigation. Again, 2 hours after school gets out, that's when parents find out about this is going on. No administrator, well, the principal's been out the building for 6 weeks, still from this district. Not a word to parents that administrator's not in the building. Now we bring in a special administrator from outside the district and brought them in. But then one of the African-American assistant principals we're trying to get rid of has been running that building for 6 weeks by himself, but he got a bad eval, and they're talking about not redoing his contract. But he's been over there for 6 weeks doing the job. Nothing. So what are we going to do? We can give everybody else in this district bad contracts, bad reviews and that, but when it comes to this superintendent, y'all give her a good eval every time we sit here. 9 years. Mr. Ewan, I had a conversation with you years ago about this, and we talked about it. Y'all weren't ready to move on. When? How far are we going to dig this district down before we make change? Where it's too low to help bring it back up? It needs to have change. And this superintendent needs to go. She is a cancer to this district. How many great teachers, administrators, and that have we lost in this district? They've been attacking Ms. Hannah. Well, she was reelected. So guess what? Now she's being sued again. Try to get money from her. Y'all can't get rid of her, so you keep trying.
Thank you, Ms. Sabecki. Ms. Hannah.
Good evening, board. I'm coming to you asking and demanding that you look at the numbers that are written in black and white. The more the students fail, the more money the superintendent gets. Is she being rewarded for the failure of our students or the job that she's performing or lack thereof? It's time for her to go. Next, the board attorney needs to go. And this is my public request for her to resign. Nobody should have to ask her or demand that she does her job. Anita Hanna is being sued yet again because of her lack of due diligence in writing a letter that would have eliminated the whole thing. So if she's not competent enough to do her job effectively, she should go. I know it may not be important to the board members that are leaving. You probably don't care because, okay, it's water under the bridge for you guys, but the district still needs to stand. It still needs to go and operate. And then on to Jack Benny, with the student with the fake gun that was brought to school. I hope and pray that the student is handled just like any other student according to the law in Illinois and not given special privileges because this child's mother happens to sit on the Board of Education. Do better.
Thank you, Ms. Hanna. Mr. Vukovic.
Yes, good evening. Two things. Jack Benny Middle School, you've got an outside administrator that you brought in, retired administrator from outside of the district. Why haven't you reached to one of the numerous administrators that are retired from Waukegan, that know this district, that knows that school? I'm thinking of Dr. Harleen Shipley, I'm sorry, she knows that school better than anybody. All it would have taken was a phone call to get her in there to deal with it. But y'all bring somebody from outside in, they don't know the school. Probably a great person, I don't know the individual, but you continually go outside and you Waukeganites get pushed over to the side. It's just been the track record here. You know, the big thing in the news today throughout the country the last few weeks is Doge. They got a cut. And you know, when you look at Washington, D.C., and you look at Lincoln Center, it's like deja vu. 9 years ago, this woman came in as the superintendent, and she had all the buzzwords. She's gonna right-size things. First thing she did was pushed out all the senior administrative secretaries with years and years and decades of experience, pushed them all out. And then it was the reading teachers. And then it was, let's see, I think we got rid of the houses at the high school. And then we got rid of assistant principals and we had to bring them back. It's a round and round and round. You know, this failed experiment needs to end. 9 years is long enough. Let's move on, people. The children of this district deserve better. The taxpayers of this district deserve better. And Ms. Hanna, Mr. McBride, you came in. She was top vote getter. This woman deserves respect from all of you up there and the top administrators. I've sat at these meetings where certain people sit here and they roll their eyes at her or they don't give her the respect. She has served on this board. She's the second longest serving board member after June McGuire in the history of this district. Give the woman some respect. Thank you.
Thank you, Mr. Vukovic.
Thank you, Mr. Vukovic. This concludes our public comments, and we thank everyone who came out this evening. With that, we now have our consent agenda. So the items that are on the consent agenda are there in order to help expedite the work of the board. These items should be previously discussed and or non-controversial. Any board member can request that any letter be held over for any reason. So at this time, do we want to vote on any of these letters separately?
Mr. President, maybe it would be appropriate to let the public know that the board has already went through this agenda, discussed it in our last committee meeting before spring break.
Thank you, Ms. Hanna. All right, so seeing as there are nothing that anyone wants to vote on separately, I need a motion to approve items 10A through N.
Motion to approve.
Motion by Mr. Riddle, seconded by Ms. Fabian. Any comments or questions on the motion?
I just have one quick question. Apologies, I wasn't here, but this is regarding number H. I did go back and watch our recording. And as Mr. Riddle said in the last meeting, we understand I'm going to call them challenges we have as a board when we have students not attending our public schools. So can we just clarify, are the Chromebooks going to students, or is it a mix of students and staff at Cristo Rey? Or do we know?
Ms. Polk? She may be in the other room, Dr. Cesario. Can you let her know? She did explain it last time. That's why I'm referring to her.
For students, because it's the title.
I understand in the recording it says Title I, but we did not clearly specify they're just going to students, because in the item it says we are obligated to provide supports to students and teachers, et cetera, resources. So I just wanted to clarify for my understanding. For a student, but because it says that it can go to teachers as well, we did not specify that these 100 are going. We said that the money follows the students, right? But if in the agenda item it says that the money also goes to support the other components, I just want to understand.
Yes, board president, board members, superintendent, community members, colleagues. Ms. Patty came up when she explained this is disproportionate share. And so we're responsible for managing those monies. However, we're required to give some of the money to the parochial schools. Right. And so if it's allowable expenses, if it's for teaching staff, or if it's for the students, then those things are put into our grant and approved by ISB. I'm not quite sure whether it's for the students or whether it's for the instructional staff, but it is allowable expenses in the grant.
Yeah, I understand. Thank you, Ms. Polk.
All right, roll call.
Mr. McBride?
Yes.
Ms. Fabian?
Yes.
Ms. Gonzalez?
Yes.
Mr. Riddle?
Yes.
Ms. Hannah?
Yes.
Ms. Lensing?
Yes.
President Ewing?
Yes, item approved, motion carries. Can we scroll back up so I can read those into the record? Item 10A, renewal of 95% core phonics materials for SY26, grades 3 through 5. B, renewal of 95% curriculum embedded coaching for SY26, grades 3 through 5. Renewal of everyday math curriculum embedded coach grade K through 5. D, renewal of Dreambox learning for K through 5. E, updated intergovernmental agreement for college and career navigator at Washington High School campus. F, renewal for consumable program 9 through 12 grade ESL materials. G, purchase of curriculum for grade 6 through 12 Spanish language arts one-way education for SY26. H, Chromebook purchase for Cristo Rey St. Martin College Prep. I, renewal for Power School evaluation platform for 25-26 school year. J, E-rate 2025-2027 network fiber connectivity. K, E-rate 2025-2026 network cabling and switching. Cat 2. L, renewal of Sophos antivirus endpoint 1-year subscription. M, renewal of Gaggle contract. And N, renewal of Nutanix contract. Same for consent agenda under operations. Would any board member like to vote on any of these items separately?
Mr. President, just a question. Nothing has been added to this consent agenda since our last meeting. Am I correct?
I didn't compare the two agendas, Ms. Hannah. So everything that's here is either a renewal or something. So
I know.
Okay. So I'm gonna get Deputy Moulton. Was there anything added under the consent agenda for operations that wasn't discussed at the operations services meeting in March? Thank you. All right. Do you motion, Ms. Hannah?
Yes.
Motion.
Second.
Seconded by Ms. Lensing. Any comments or questions?
I also do have a fast question on B, the fleet vehicles. So I understand we're purchasing 3 of the vehicles for I forget the term used, but like our plumbers and electricians, and we're retaining our current vehicles and we're putting some up for bid. I'm just curious on the timing of releasing those vehicles and if we're being proactive with this purchase given the incoming tariffs. Like, was that a consideration, or is it just we needed them anyway? So the timing just worked that way.
And if I could just add to that, Mr. Moulton, are we going to purchase this through our through our what do you call it? The government.
So it would be the Illinois Joint Purchasing Agreement?
Yes, Illinois Joint. Yes.
Yes. Yes, we are. So good evening, board members, staff, community superintendent. So we will be purchasing these vehicles through the Illinois Joint Purchasing Agreement as identified in the agenda item. When we got the original proposals for these vehicles, we were not really considering the tariffs. However, the in-stock inventory, we don't believe would be subject to that. So it's a matter of need for the timing. And when we do put the vehicles up for auction, we'll be following the surplus inventory board policy for disposal.
Do we have timing on that, or that's just subject to when it needs to happen? Like let me rephrase. There's no immediate need to put those on auction, but when it comes that time, that's when it'll happen, or there is an immediate need?
So that process has already started.
Okay, thank you.
Thank you. Roll call.
Mr. McBride?
Yes.
Ms. Fabian?
Yes.
Ms. Gonzalez?
Yes.
Mr. Riddle?
Yes.
Ms. Hannah?
Yes.
Ms. Lensing?
Yes.
President Ewing?
Yes, item approved, motion carries. We have item 11A, approval to attend the 2025 National Association of Social Work National Conference. B, approval of purchase of operations fleet vehicles. C, approval of payment network cabling in support of the Hyde Park Elementary main entrance project. D, approval of payment for supplemental architect fees for Washington campus retaining wall replacement project. E, approval of AOEC security camera and equipment upgrade. F, approval of Washington campus security camera installation request. And G, approval of Brookside campus security camera replacement request. All right, we are now at personnel, item 13A for 4/8/2025.
It is recommended that the Board of Education accept the administration's recommendation to approve the appointments, retirements, retirement extension requests, and accept the resignations and terminations as found on schedules F1002, L949, T317, and G660.
Motion to approve.
Motion by Mr. Riddle,
Second.
seconded by Ms. Gonzalez. Any comments or questions on the motion?
Yes, I got a couple comments. We have 9 teacher resignations from a number of the schools. That's disturbing in light of the conversation always being teacher shortages and the need for long-term subs and substitutes. It just would seem that some type of plan to help whatever the deficit is with the staff, to help them to come up and improve and grow, instead of just removing certified teachers and then we go back into the cycle of vacancies and having to get more long-term subs and whatever happened to remediation, whatever happened to we used to have here in our district a teacher academy where the teachers were being helped by professional coaches, consultants, to bring them up to par. But instead, it's easy to remove people. And the sad thing to me is when they leave our district, they go to a neighboring school district and they do wonderful. But here, it's like nobody can do their job. And that gets a little bit old. And so look, I'm one board member, but I do not like this. Many of the people that are being let go and everything, as it was said earlier, the long-term people, even new people that are just getting into their careers. You're not supposed to kick somebody out like that. You're supposed to help them improve. But it is right now what it is, but hopefully change will come. We've got a list of paraprofessionals that are leaving. The turnover, I'm sorry people, the turnover in District 60, to me, as the long-term senior board member, it's unacceptable. But I'm just one board member. Thank you.
Just
Board President.
Go ahead, Mr. McBride, and then I'll go to Ms. Gonzalez.
just to piggy off, can you guys hear me?
Mm-hmm.
Just to piggy off Ms. Hannah's comments, there is an issue with climate and culture change in our district, and I do know that when you have that kind of chaos, it's going to always be effective. I mean, it's always going to affect our students, and we constantly hear that our students are not they're failing, and a lot of it has to do with that. And I just come back from a conference, and that was one of the sessions that I dealt with culture and climate. And Ms. Hannah is right in reference to what happened to conflict resolution, and those type of approaches to issues when they do come. And I totally agree with her. We have, I've sat here and I watched us dismiss long-term and short-term teachers. And as I sat back, everybody ain't got problems. Sometimes it can be problems from within. And sometimes our administrators may not be able to deal with some of our staff. They may have attitudes themselves. Instead of trying to find conflict resolution, they figure out ways to say, well, if I just get you out of here, then I ain't got to deal with you. And I think those are some of the things that my observations since I've been sitting here, I've been seeing. So to Ms. Hannah's comments, I have to go along with that. She's right in that respect, because I have to say I've seen it myself. Thank you.
Ms. Gonzalez.
I just wanted to say that, and I'm actually glad that Ms. Hannah and Mr. McBride share their comments, because I think if we feel that way as a board, obviously I won't be on the board for much longer, but if we feel that professional development actually is beneficial, then it should increase, right? So anytime that we consider professional development, every time we consider conferences and things like that, that should be an initiative that the board supports, and that there's not as much back and forth when we talk about those opportunities. But I also want to say to the community that it's long, and I want to be careful with the way that I phrase this. Sometimes it's okay to pivot, right? I think so many of us have amazing attributes. We have different talents. But if it's the school that's not a fit, if it's the team that's not a fit, it's okay to transition. And so I don't want that to be lost in this conversation as well, is that if we're getting recommendations from the team that, you know, some stuff is working, some stuff is not, that there's evidence behind that, and those are conversations that we have in closed session. But yeah, I just wanted to say that because I do think it's important, right? We're saying that professional development is something that we should embrace. It's something that we should increase, and we could reap the benefits of it.
Ms. Lindsay?
I appreciate all of the comments given so far. I did want to touch point on Ms. Gonzalez's commentary around professional development. I think the board overall is very supportive of professional development. I think the conflicting aspect of it, or what the discussion stems around, is accountability for that professional development. What did you learn? What are you bringing back? Some people just go and we're not seeing any results come from it. When I first joined the board, I asked for the impact of administrative professional development for the past 5 years. And got board concurrence for that information, with Mr. McBride saying, if she's asking for it, let's give it to her. That has yet to come. So I'm all for professional development, but it's the accountability that comes with it, because we're seeing it in some respects. I don't want to say that nothing's happening with the professional development that we're seeing, but there's no structure around it. So while it's not something that this board is currently tackling or has tackled, there has been an attempt to limit the board professional development. But I'm hoping that with our next board, we can get a handle around this so that the community feels better about how we're addressing the professional development, how we're spending funds for the professional development, and our staff and our students are reaping the benefits from it.
I totally agree, Ms. Lansing. As many in the community know, I have only said that we should limit the board to attend the III conference in Chicago because it's economical, it's focused on our state. There's really nothing that they don't cover there that would apply to our situation here. I understand that other board members want other educational opportunities, but I'm also of the understanding that if we have conversations of limiting staff to go, that we should do that first, fiscally, right? So I understand your point, but I just wanted to respond to that because I think it's not that I'm disagreeing to disagree. I think that there's a strategy, right? That's why I have been voting the way that I vote.
And I don't have any qualms against how you are voting and respect your position on that. I'm just saying that when we're talking about these components, we want our teachers to go, we want our staff to go, but what does that really look like?
Right, and if I can just, I want to clarify what I was saying.
Oh.
I was not talking about the actual professional development. I'm actually talking about internal
training.
The internal training that needs to happen, that should be happening. We pay people a lot of money, okay? And you all may have heard me say this before. With all of the money that our people are getting paid, with all of the credentials that they brought to us, that they are able to do this, they've done that before, and brought this school up and did that before coming here. Well, now it's like those skills or whatever has disappeared, and they want everybody else to do that. And so I'm talking about internal, that we have the opportunity to internally train our teachers that need to be brought up. That's what I was saying. Not so much about professional development.
Does that, I guess my question, I have two questions. Does that not count as professional development?
Oh, absolutely.
Even if it, okay,
absolutely.
So then we're talking
but
about the same thing.
But it's internal.
Right. Yeah.
So, and going back to it, all of the above. What I will say is the issue about the culture and climate. One of my biggest frustrations, having sat on the board, and I've said this publicly, so it's nothing new, is that the majority of the time are spent navigating and negotiating adult issues. It's very rarely dealing with the students. Students are going to be students. They're going to have difficulty. Stuff is going to come up. But it's how do we deal with and Mr. McBride alluded to that. How do we deal with interrelations in the district in an effective and constructive way? Is I always find it interesting that we talk about de-escalation when it relates to the students, but what I've witnessed is a lack of de-escalation when it's related to staff-on-staff interactions, and it's at every level, right? So it's administrator to teacher, teacher to administrator, administrator to administrator, and so board member to board member. Thank you for that, Ms. Lindsay. And so I think it's important that we consider that. And just because I won't be on the board doesn't mean I don't care about Waukegan Public Schools or what happens to its future, right? So what I will say is that we have to also be responsive and responsible and looking at all of the things to consider when we talk about resignations. We've invested in an international recruitment effort. We see what's going on at the state level. So some of these resignations, not all of them, are related to individuals who are saying, hey, maybe I want to return home. That's a risk that we have with international recruiting. But I say that while also acknowledging, as we talked about and Ms. Hannah alluded to, that there is a teacher shortage, right, in the state of Illinois. We do not have enough teachers here. We do not have enough teachers in the teacher prep programs to replace those that are retiring. And so that is it's a fact. So yes, that doesn't mean, and I want to be very sensitive. Actually, I don't think that we can have a nuanced conversation, so I'm going to hold my comments. But what I will say is that part of it is around, there's an evaluation process. There's a process for the principals. If we don't trust our principals to do the evaluations, then they shouldn't be our principals. And that's what the board really has to evaluate when they're having that conversation. So I'll refrain the rest of my time and roll call vote.
Mr. McBride?
Yes.
Ms. Fabian? Ms. Gonzalez?
Yes.
Mr. Riddle?
Yes.
Ms. Hannah?
Yes.
Ms. Lindsay?
I'm going to say yes. I think for me, there's just some components that I would like reviewed in addition to the schedule, but yes.
President Ewing?
Yes, item approved, motion carries. All right, we are at financial reports, so ratification of the, we have some administrative appointments, I'm sorry. Go ahead, Superintendent.
At this time, I'd like to introduce Mr. Tobias Huey, who previously served as a long-term substitute teacher at Clearview Elementary. He will now serve as a culture and climate specialist at the Washington campus with a starting salary of $60,000. Congratulations, Mr. Huey. Our second appointee is Ms. Melissa Howlett, who previously served as a senior manager, ethics and compliance. She will now serve as the deputy general counsel here at Lincoln Center with a starting salary of $165,000. Congratulations, Ms. Howlett.
All right, item 16A, the ratification of the first processing of April 2025 board bills, manual check request payments, and Old National Bank insurance payments for the period of March 5th, 2025 through April 1st, 2025.
It is the recommendation of the administration that the Board of Education ratify the first April 2025 processing of board bills, manual check request payments, and Old National Bank insurance payments for the period of March 5th, 2025 through April 1st, 2025. The accounts payable board payments for the period of March 5th, 2025 through April 1st, 2025 total $3,745,188.03. The manual check request payments for the period of March 5th, 2025 2025 through April 1st, 2025, total $1,755,556.81. The Old National Bank insurance payments for the period of March 5th, 2025 through April 1st, 2025's total $906,325.90.
Motion to approve.
Motion by Mr. Riddle,
Second.
seconded by Ms. Gonzalez. Any comments or questions on the motion?
Yes. Many of you may know or have witnessed me passing on the financial the financial reports, and I'm going to continue to pass because I will not approve a budget that is in deficit. And I know the difference, and I know that we weren't in deficit spending, but now we're in deficit spending. And I know that they'll they'll bring up a staff and they'll say opposite of what I'm saying. The only thing I'm saying, it's in black and white. Look for yourself. That's why I pass, because I have been expressing for the last 6-7 months, maybe longer, we need to streamline spending. We need to cut down spending. And now we're here. We have no certain knowledge of what's going to happen because of what's going on in Washington, D.C., through the state, down to the locals. We have no clue. And see, instead of being reactionary with things, I've always worked. People that know me, I've always worked on proactive methods. Don't wait till the last minute and then try to fix it. Anyway, I just needed to say that with the
I want to have Ms.
with the
Pope
budget
respond.
because see, I know where we came from. I know when we didn't have. I know when we had to borrow money to pay our staff. We got out of that. Things that have been done in this administration, it would not have been able to be done had not the previous administration fixed our budget, fixed our finances. And I'm not going to sit here and I'm not going to go backwards from where we came from.
Mr. McBride.
Well, I'm listening to Ms. Hannah, and not just what she's speaking about in reference to the budget. There's always something that we're not doing right as a board. And I think at some point, leaving the conference I went to, they're always talking about controlling the narrative, because the narrative get us in trouble. And I'm going to ask you, Ms. Polk, to come up to help us out with what Ms. Hannah's talking about. It could be true, and it could not be true, but help us out understand what she's saying to this about this board, since you handle the finances.
Again, the board president, board members, community, and colleagues. Ms. Hannah is correct that in the current year, and this has been historical, and let me explain that. We get revenue in the current year. We have expenses in the current year, and it is a deficit. But we are aware of that, and when we present the budget, we say that. But we have an ending fund balance that is able to absorb that and keep us positive. And we're not, we do not have to submit a deficit reduction plan. You've heard me say that. We've ended the past years with a fund balance across all of the funds in excess of $100 million. We're hopeful that we'll end this year with $100 million. We have communicated with the superintendent. She is aware that before COVID, we had a certain dollar value for the expenditures. And when we got COVID money, of course, that was about $80 million, right? So they wanted us to spend it, and we did spend it. And we're working collaboratively right now to ensure that we pass a balanced budget. I do not believe that the district wants to approve a budget that has a deficit, meaning overall. I do not believe, and I could say definitively, that this is something that has happened in 1 year, 2 years, 3 years, 4 years ago. We've been doing this for a long time, where it's deficit, let me say it again, in the current year, not deficit overall. I hope I answered the question.
You did. And part of it, and Mr. McBride, I appreciate with you talking narrative, is there are certain things that as a district we should be celebrating. And I want to right now publicly credit Ms. Polk and the finance department and the administration who've helped us navigate. So Ms. Hannah is correct, is the district was in dire financial straits. They had to make some tough decisions. Some things had to be decided. They weathered that storm and they came back stronger. And so, yes, we have been able to benefit, but some of the other things that we've also done to benefit is the 10-year capital improvement plan, which laid out a roadmap for how we were going to do repairs. What I do credit this board with is before the pandemic, when we didn't have no money, and me and Ms. Polk had to go and have a conversation around, can we reserve $30 million? And Brandon not want to raise taxes. So one of the things that I look at very, very closely is the budget. And as people who've been on the budget approval committee, like these are planned expenses, and all we're doing is paying our bills. So any board member can vote their conscience, but I don't want people to be confused as far as what's happening. It's us paying our bills. And I encourage every board member during the budget process is if we have legitimate concerns about where those funds are going, make your recommendations. It's because what typically happens, and you correct me if I'm wrong, Ms. Polk, is we ask what everybody needs and sometimes what they want. But most of the time it's just put down what you actually need. And then we prioritize until we run out of money, because we do not have enough in this budget to cover all of the needs of Waukegan Public Schools. And to Ms. Hannah's point, with what's going on at the federal level, we must be aware so that we can be receptive and adaptive. But I want the community to feel good is when there are times when you walk into a room and you say, dang, you know, it's honest. I'm from Waukegan, and there are narratives that come with that. And then I go in the rooms and I see what some of our wealthier districts and even some of our poorer ones are having to manage through right now. Rifts, layoffs, reduced hours, cutting transportation. None of that is on the table in Waukegan Public Schools because of how we managed our budget. And so I won't call any of those districts out, but all you got to do is Google it. And so I do want to say Ms. Hannah is right from we have to be good financial stewards, but I would argue that this board under Ms. Hannah's guidance and everybody up here and Ms. Polk and the superintendent, that's an area that we should be proud of and we should be celebrating, is the management of the budget. So again, every board member, vote your conscience if you don't want to approve them, but this actual action is paying the bills, things that we've already agreed to, signed off, approved, committed to, And then the budget process, which is starting relatively now, right? Do you have the date for that first? Usually it's the first. That's so that's April 25th. That starts with the actual committee that gets together and talks through some of those priorities. And then the board and the community have an opportunity at the first Tuesday in May, is that still the date, to come for a public meeting on the budget. And there are 3 of those public hearings before the budget is adopted. So I do encourage everybody to get involved. It's over $300 million with 60% of your tax bill. It's important. But even with us being 60% of your tax bill, I always want to remind you is we are not spending the recommended number that the state of Illinois says is required to educate a child. And that's something that we have to contend with, the adequacy amount. So keep advocating for that. I will. That's one of the things that I'll plan on doing after I leave the board, is making sure that we continue to fund evidence-based funding. With that, Ms. Lindsay, did you have something to say?
No, I think I'll hold it for our budget committee. Yeah, I'll just hold it for our budget committee.
Thank you.
Board President, can I just say something?
Yes, of course, Mr. Riddle.
I know every year, too, our finance department wins awards as the way we manage our budget. And also, recently when I was down at III conference, when we were down there, I attended a financial workshop, and they actually mentioned Waukegan. A lot of districts struggling, but Waukegan was mentioned by the conference leader as managing its budget really well. So evidently some of what we do is recognized by IASB. So we as you said it eloquently, Board President, we have to spend deficit, during the year, but then we get more money at the end and we end up in a positive vein. And Ms. Hannah is absolutely right, though, as far as the fact that we need to be very conscious of what might happen in Washington,
Yes.
D.C. With some of that federal money and whether we'll continue to get that. So certainly this new board's going to be looking closely at that.
And my final comment is, it's always interesting to me when people say that a school district that spends, I'm going to say less than 80, I don't have the exact number in front of me, but less than 80% of its of the adequacy target on its students is wastefully spending. But a school district that spends 200% above the adequacy target is not wastefully spending. So they spend 100% more than what the state of Illinois says is required to educate a child. And I'm not talking 50 miles away, I'm talking 10. I'm talking 15. And then we want to say why our outcomes are different. Let me spend 200% of adequacy on our students and see what we can do.
Well, to interject or add to that, even not just students, but changing grass to AstroTurf as they're spending their money, when we could be supplying our kids with way more than fake grass.
But those things, and I agree, and those things matter. Facilities, right? It gives them the money to do what it is. That's included in that adequacy target.
Yeah.
So that's my soapbox. All right, roll call.
Mr. McBride?
Yes.
Ms. Fabian? Ms. Gonzalez?
Yes.
Mr. Riddle?
Yes.
Ms. Hannah?
Pass.
Ms. Lansing?
Pass.
President Ewing?
Yes, item approved, motion carries. We have committee reports. Unless there are major updates, good with holding them. We do have a superintendent's report, so we'll go through that now.
At this time, I'd like to welcome, are you both coming up? Ms. Jennifer Rice Stella Sanchez. And Pam, who are going to walk us through our monthly Tier 1 site visits that have been happening at all of our schools, K through 8, monthly. What they're going to talk about and describe today is the process and the protocol in which they go in and engage and work with ILTs around the adoption of the new curriculum in science of reading. And on that note, I'll turn it back to you both.
Good evening, Board of Education, community, and colleagues. Thank you for having us here tonight. I'd like to turn that mic over directly to our Assistant Director, Ms. Crowell.
Thank you, Ms. Crow. Can we get the presentation? Let's give it a minute. So.
Great.
So our site visits are directly tied to Goal 3, which is aligned with the Illinois Comprehensive Literacy Plan, around ensuring that all of our leaders are equipped to create, maintain, and sustain equitable conditions for high-quality evidence-based instruction. And while the Illinois Literacy Plan is focused solely on literacy, we go in and address all areas of school operations. That includes Tier 1 curriculum, it includes MTSS supports, it includes social emotional learning, and we also address behavior and chronic absenteeism when that comes up in specific schools. Next slide. So at our monthly visits, we are in every school every month, and each month has a focus, with August being really around opening of schools, supporting buildings as needed is what we do. And then from September through January, we're really looking at Tier 1 implementation, and we have a pretty consistent agenda. February, we take some time and give SIP SBB feedback to every school individually, and so we walk through every goal, every strategy, every budget item that they're looking at for the next year. We talk about how it aligns to the 3 goals to Destination 2028, and we help them really think through the PD that would be needed to support those strategies, and we collaborate on feedback. And then in March and April, we go back into Tier 1 implementation and kind of wrap up the school year. So right now we're looking at trends across the whole school year with schools and talking about how they might plan for the upcoming school year based on how they saw implementation go this year. During our meeting protocol, we walk classrooms. So our goal is to visit as many classrooms as possible every time we go. So we disperse throughout the building. Come back, we talk about classroom visit data, really looking at trends. We're not there to coach around specific teachers or even grade levels, really. Our goal is to take a school-wide view and really take that leadership lens on how we can help identify trends, both in classroom visit data and Tier 1, make some connections, and then talk about how we can operationalize support at the district level. What do they need from us as a team? And what instructional next moves might they take inside of their building, and how can we partner to do that? Really exciting this year are our common tools. And so every K-5 building has a common tool. So doesn't matter what elementary you walk in, if you're walking the literacy block in an elementary, every room has the same look-fors, same at 6-8. We collaborated with our teachers union on those. The teachers get the immediate feedback, but it also produces ongoing data for us. So we can see trends in curriculum implementation, instructional setting, assessment practices, and some high leverage instructional practices that we want to see happening in all classrooms. One of the major levers that these site visits give us is the data preparation that teams do in advance. And so there is a data protocol that we ask ILTs to walk through before we show up in the building. And our team does it internally before we go to schools, and so then we kind of meet in the middle. What trends are you seeing and what needs are you seeing? Did we see a similar thing? And how can we support you through that? And what that's really done is it has empowered our teams to huddle around data, and in many of our schools that has dispersed into grade level teams, and teachers are owning their Tier 1 data, problem solving around it, and then they're able to come to us and say, hey, this is where we really want some help over the next 4 weeks as we try to move this data. We also, as I mentioned, we look across many dashboards. So you'll notice our African American Male Initiative dashboard is a part of the work that we do. And just looking across, Jonathan Brown and his team has done just a phenomenal job building out systems so that we can really clearly see data. So these are some trends from this year. You'll notice across all classroom visits, in purple is beginning of year implementation based on that tool. Green is middle of year, and yellow is end of year. And so you'll see continual improvement in all indicators, except for one in mathematics. So we'll be checking in on assessment practices, but we're seeing things steadily increase, which is a really nice thing to see. And it's super exciting for me was kind of really looking at where were we last year with our end of unit data across Tier 1, and we are seeing, not only are we seeing increases in the percent of students who are meeting and exceeding on end of units, but that second set of graphs, you will see that in both literacy and math, we are seeing a decrease in the number of students in the lowest performing band, which has been a group of students that we have typically struggled to move in our data. And so to see both bands responding is a really encouraging trend. And then finally, we just have some information from a few of the people who participate. So at the school level, this includes principals, assistant principals, instructional coaches. In some buildings, the instructional support teachers sit in. And when I reached out to them to say, hey, like, how's this going? How do you feel this is supporting you? Overwhelmingly, they responded with, thank you so much for showing up. It's so nice to have you here every month. It's great to have a collaborative conversation. And they feel very supported by the district as a whole because the team is made up of all of the departments across academic supports and programs. Great job. Yeah, Ms. Hannah.
Okay, so could you go back to the slide right before this? Yeah, this here. Okay, now you say end of unit assessment.
Yep.
Tell me exactly what's the definition of end of unit?
So within each of our Tier 1 curriculum, there are units of instruction, right? So Unit 1 in math might be heavily focused on numbers in base 10 in first grade. I get to the end of that unit, 3 or 4 weeks worth of instruction, and there is an assessment that comes with our curriculum.
A test.
A test. We give that to our students, see how they're doing.
Okay, and so this data here is simply for end of unit assessment. This is not like 6 months.
This is not screeners, this is not MAP, this is not the state accountability assessment, IAR. This is the data that is closest to the teaching that's happening in the classrooms.
And I see my favorite word on the screen. It's called phonics. And so are you saying that this method is causing our children to learn how to read? Is that what you're saying?
Yeah, what I'm saying is that across K-5, because if you remember last year we also implemented a 3rd through 5th grade phonics curriculum, we are seeing, when we look across K-5 as a whole, more kids are reading better and fewer kids are reading worse.
Okay.
In the most simplest of terms.
Yeah, I like to hear that. Are you guys utilizing a mirror?
We have a mirror in 7 of our schools. Yes, and so currently we are conducting a comparison between a similar program that's offered as part of our Tier 1 curriculum and Amira, and we're looking at comparing growth in those schools. So as that year closes out, we'll keep talking about that.
Okay, thank you.
Ms. Lindsay?
So I want to make a comment because you said the collaborative conversations with the instructional leaders. I love that, right? Because this is a group project, these kids, right? And we all want an A+. We want these kids to go on and succeed. So I love that it's collaborative because a great idea could come from anyone in the room. So I really appreciate that. Can we back up a couple of slides where you had like the different month calendars? Keep going. There. Can you help me understand the monthly topic for February as the school improvement plan and site-based budgeting feedback?
Yeah.
Because we're going to be coming up on those conversations, and I brought it up several times. One school is at like 300,000 for their budgeting, and we have other schools that are like 500 or in excess of. And so to me, that doesn't sit right. So to kind of prime myself for when we get into those conversations, what this looked like at your schools.
Yeah, so all of our schools really in December-ish, they start thinking about what are our goals for next year? How do we do on our goals this year? What will our goals be next year? And they write a school improvement plan. And in that plan, there's a goal, there's strategies, how are we going to get there? And the how we're going to get there usually costs money, so that leads to your budget, right? And so when we come, we start with looking, they talk us through some of their baseline data, they talk to us about how they monitored last year's SIP plan and how that's going. Do you think you're ready to move on from that goal, or do you think you're going to stick with it, right? We get feedback on those goals specifically. Hey, I think that's really great. We pulled and we actually see how well you've done over the last 3 years. We think you can increase that by 3%. We think you can push harder, faster. That's really ambitious. Here's what your typical growth was. Here's what we think might be more realistic, right? So we're setting you up for success. And then we move into every goal has a tab, and within that there is how are you going to get to that goal? And we walk through every line of every goal to say, okay, you want to invest in Ron Clark, and you want to do the house system to address chronic absenteeism. You want to bring in additional Orton Gillingham training to address your literacy goal, right? What are each of those things? And we talk through where are we at, how equipped are you, and how can we support you in reaching that so that we know that that strategy will end in success, right? And sometimes there are pieces where we talk about, okay, EPIC is a great site and it has great resources. We have about 3 other things that are already in place in district that align with our tier 1 that meet that need. So let's talk to you about how we maybe don't have to spend money on that thing because we already have some things in place. And we'll get with you, and academic coordinators will help you. EPIC books, not the preschool. I'm sorry. Yeah.
I was like, I'm a full
not education, naming everything the same acronym. So those kinds of conversations, right? We talk a lot about alignment, right? And for us at the district level too, a piece of that is if we see 40% of elementary schools asking for the same thing, we reflect and say, is that a district need? And if it is, then maybe we're going to support that at the district level versus schools having to manage that one by one by one. So we talk through all of those pieces, give some feedback, and then the area superintendents follow up, ASAP follows up, and supports them. So before it gets to you, it goes through some layers of feedback and reflection and alignment so that we're all going the same direction towards the same goals, but each school has a little bit of their own autonomy in how they're going to get there.
Okay. I really love that explanation. I just want to make sure I'm following the trajectory of the progress of development. So with the school improvement plan and the site-based budgeting, you're collaborating and having very specific conversations with each individual school of how to essentially get it set up to then be approved by the area superintendents and ASAP and then eventually get back to us.
Yep.
Okay, appreciate it, thank you.
Thank you. All right, we are going to item, so Ms. Lindsay proposed a resolution. We'll be voting on that at our next board meeting.
Okay, great.
So the only thing that we're waiting for is, Kathy, were you able to provide your feedback?
My feedback is minimal on that. Administration needs to supplement.
Yep, and so that's what we are waiting for, which will be received and ready to act by our next board meeting.
So Brandon, and I'm the holdup on this. I believe I was out for a funeral when you guys discussed this, and then came back. So there's certain asks for administration that I'm looking at now, and we have a closed session, I believe, for the next student achievement meeting. If I have any questions, or I'm just going to say questions, I'm not going to say concerns. Concerns sounds negative, but questions, I'd ask that you allow me to ask then, or to put any
I'll say you
things
just
that are my radar at that point.
just email any questions.
Yeah, I was going to say, is that not a closed session?
No, it's not.
Yeah.
Right, it's okay. I got it.
Okay. I was just asking.
No, you. If you do have questions, if you can email those to Ms. Lizzie as the author of the resolution, myself, so that we can keep track of them, and Ms. Vanderbrook, so she can show a blue or red line copy if there are suggestions made.
Okay, I'm seeing that a different way, so Board President, I'll just reach out to you tomorrow.
Okay. All right, item 21A, expulsion proceeding. I think, Mr. Riddle, you have that resolution.
Yes, I have that, and I'll read the resolution. This is regarding whereas following a building level investigation, student 015 was determined to have possessed a weapon while at school, which under the school code requires a mandatory referral for expulsion for a period of at least 1 year, unless modified by the superintendent, whose decision may be modified by the board. Whereas the Board of Education of Waukegan Community Unit School District 60 did receive and consider the principal's recommendation and the superintendent's agreement to modify the mandatory expulsion period for student number 015, and the reasons therefore. And whereas the modification proposed is in the best interest of the district and the student, and based on a totality of the circumstances, supports the maintenance of a safe school environment, free of disruptive influences which can be a distraction to learning while continuing to hold the student accountable for the student's conduct. Now therefore, it has hereby been resolved that 1. The whereas clauses are adopted herein by reference as findings of the board. 2. The board concurs with the superintendent's modification of the mandatory minimum expulsion period to 3 days out of
5
schools.
days.
Yeah, I thought it was 5. It
5
said-
days.
5.
Okay, so should I write that on here, correct?
Yeah, just state it as 5 days.
It's 5 days, okay. Let me just change it to 5 days. So 5 days, so let me just read that section 2 again. The board concurs with the superintendent's modification of the mandatory minimum expulsion period to 5 days out of school suspension, the days already having been served, a board reprimand, and an individualized safety plan. 3, the superintendent or the superintendent's designee is to notify the parents of student number 015 in writing of the board's determination within the next 5 school business days. And 4, this resolution is effective upon board approval. And I hereby make a motion to approve.
Motion by Mr. Riddle,
Second.
seconded by Ms. Lindsay. Any comments or questions on the motion?
Sorry, I feel that it just needs to be stated every time that we do look at these instances on a case-by-case basis with more information than we're able to speak to the public about, and we take these things very seriously. The safety of our students and our staff is of our utmost priority, and given the circumstances of the case, the board, well, I believe the board, but I myself agree that this is the most appropriate response for the situation.
All students are subject to our board policies.
Yeah.
Thank you, Ms. Lindsay. All in favor signify with aye.
Aye.
Any opposed, nay? Item is approved. Board member time. Ms. Lindsay.
Oh, I'll try to keep it concise. So April's a very popular month for celebrating things. Just so we're aware, I encourage people to get some more personal education around these topics if you don't know very much. So first and foremost, April is Autism Awareness Month, with April 2nd being the World Autism Awareness Day. I was able to attend a virtual seminar of sorts where it talks about the benefits of having those with autism in our community and the different skill sets that they provide that may not be as easily recognizable to others. So I just want to make sure that the district is celebrating that as well. There's also Arab American Heritage Month, Celebrate Diversity Month, Earth Month, National Child Abuse Month, more I believe on the awareness component, National Volunteer Month, and Administrative Professional Month. So it's a very busy month. And to board president's comments earlier, I was also able to attend the Focus Gala put on by the Howell family. They did award our superintendent recognition for the amount of work that she does with the group and the support, as well as the Waukegan Public Schools districts. I do have the plaques that we'll want to decide how those are displayed. So they were very kind to acknowledge the partnership that we have with them. They also acknowledged Miss Schaefer over at Lewis for the amount of partnership and work that they do together as well. Was also able to attend the Boys and Girls Club of Lake County Gala. They did an amazing job, and we got to hear from the students directly, especially those in Waukegan, that benefit from the programming. So I'm really excited that we have extended collaboration with them as well. And I will say that one other district-wide event that we have is the Walk Pack has a performance of Moana this Friday, Saturday, 2 shows on Saturday. So if you haven't gotten your tickets, please do. The information is on the district website. If you scroll a little bit down, it's like one of the first items. But I encourage everyone to come out and support our kids because they're putting a lot of hard work into that. That's going to be at Andrew Cook Magnet. So Friday, I believe it's at 7 p.m. I was like, is it 6 or 7? And then Saturday, there's a 3 p.m. show and a 6 p.m. show. I did it. I'll give you the specific dates, but it is on the website. So if you guys, again, encourage community members. These kids need all the love and support. I'll leave it there. Thank you.
Thank you, Ms. Lindsay. Ms. Hannah?
I don't, I just want to.
Mike, Ms. Hannah?
I really just want to say that this past week has been a very kind of satisfying week, aside from challenges that I've had to deal with. But I do want to say I congratulate all of the individuals that had the courage to put their names on an election ballot. Because look, it can be fun, but it also can be very very disheartening, disappointing, and never feel bad when you don't win, because you just got to try again, got to keep trying. But I commend all of the individuals that did that, and those that were successful in winning. I'm praying that that we're going to get it started, and that with those people that chose to put their names on the ballot, I certainly hope that it was not just a ballot thing, because it's not a popularity contest. And the way that you really show if your efforts were genuine and true is if you stay connected to the school district, even though if you may not have won, but stay connected, continue to be involved, and you know, then look, time will go by, and next thing you know, it'll be a time for another election. Anyway, I just want to thank everybody who did that, because it's hard work, and it like I said, it can be satisfying, but then it also can be disappointing as well. I was going to ask for something. I am in, I was in the process of reviewing training videos for the Illinois State Board, and there's a couple things that I learned in there, and one of them, we'll probably take it up with the new board, but with the superintendent, the recordings that we use in closed session, it's advised that we get a high-tech recording, because we have to reserve and retain those recordings. And they're very important. And so we need to invest in a recording other than us using a cell phone and all of that. We should not be doing that. We should be using some type of, well, they called it a high-tech, recording. But that's what we need. And the cell phones and stuff for the recording, we should not be using that. That's just that. I'm just saying what is in the training video. Okay, I even saw our general counsel in the training videos, and so it is and they're for the incoming board members. The training things. I'm honored that they allowed me to even, to do that, to make sure that stuff was okay, and navigating through the device, and if it, buffers, or you can't get in it, and all that stuff like that, and plus the content of what was there. So that's okay. I just need us also to look at our all this stuff that the DEI stuff. We can't get past that, you guys, right now, and we just can't. And the people are going to soon be looking for statements and sign-offs and all that stuff if we are complying. And I want us to be able to not get penalized for something in which we're not in compliance with, And so I just want us to be aware of that. But that's it.
Thank you, Ms. Hannah. Mr. McBride.
Well, Carolina may be able to articulate it better than me in reference to what you're speaking about with the recordings.
Mike, Mr.
Oh,
McBride.
I was saying that Carolina may be able to articulate what you're speaking about, Ms. Hannah, not in direct with recordings and whatnot. But you all right?
Huh?
You all right?
What you mean?
When you making a statement in reference to what you're speaking about?
I don't care. I know what I say.
Okay. Now, so anyway, it had to do with recording the meetings.
Yes.
And Carolina, you like to expound on that?
Well, my name's Christine.
Oh,
Carolina's
not
not.
here.
Yeah,
Oh,
she
I thought
exited.
she
Sorry,
was
I
down
wasn't
there.
sure if you were looking at me or past me.
No, I thought she was down there. Well, anyway, I passed. But
Okay.
that was something that I did want to bring up because it's in reference to what you're speaking about, Ms. Hannah, something we learned at the conference. Thank you.
Thank you, Mr. McBride. Mr. Riddle.
One brief comment. If you've driven by Sunset, you can take a look at the solar field that is being developed. I'm encouraging all families to, Waukegan families, to take a look at that. It's going to help you if you want to sign on. It's not available just yet, but we hope by the end of the year the solar project will be operational and people can start signing on probably in another month or so, Mr. Moten. Is that probably in about another month they'll be advertising to get subscribers? And there'll be more information coming out about that. But as you drive by, take a look, you'll see a lot of development taking place on some land that the school district owns. That was a trash dump at one time, but it is going to be turning into a solar farm. So just take a look at that. And congratulations to all the board members, those that run re-election and those that are new. We look forward to working as a team up here. And as Ms. Hannah said, to those who didn't win this time, certainly appreciate your efforts. Thank you.
Thank you, Mr. Riddle. Ms.
Gonzalez. The only, well, I guess two things, but The only thing I have as an update is that the Waukegan Schools Foundation Scholarship has closed. We're going to be in the middle of giving scores to students and interviewing them. So I want to give a huge shout out to Charlotte Callahan-Wozniak and Lisa Meggs, both who serve on the foundation board. They donate either through their company or them personally to make the scholarship viable. And if you got money, willing to donate, you're more than welcome to help fund that initiative and our teacher grants. And I also congratulate new board members. It's going to be an exciting time to seat the new board. I wish there were younger people like myself who tried to go for the position, but I agree with everyone and what they previously stated is that maybe it doesn't happen this cycle, but it can happen the next cycle.
Go ahead.
Maybe I could say one more thing. I'm also a Waukegan Little Fort Lions member, and this year we're trying to encourage students who have hearing and visual problems we're offering 4 week-long experiences, camp experiences at Camp Lions. So if you have a child in our district, talk to your teachers about this because they have the information available and your child may qualify for an entirely free experience at a camp nearby here. It's formerly Camp Ravenswood. The Camp Lions clubs rent that camp, and we have scholarships that are about $1,700. It's totally free for the students. So if I would suggest talking to your teacher about that, your student's teacher, and find out if your child qualifies, and if the camp is in June, so it's around June 22nd for a week-long experience. Wonderful experience for your child.
Thank you, Mr. Riddle. Yeah, so with that, I will ask for a motion to go into closed session under exception C1, which is personnel, C11, pending or threatened litigation, and C21, approval of previous closed session minutes.
So moved.
Motion by Mr. McBride, seconded by Ms. Lindsay. Comments or questions? Roll call.
Mr. McBride?
Yes.
Ms. Gonzalez?
Yes, but I won't be joining.
Mr. Riddle?
Yes.
Ms. Hannah? Ms. Lindsay?
Yes.
President Ewing?
Yes. All right, we are now in closed session. We'll meet downstairs as soon as possible.